Aye.
Hello and welcome to the Idiot Book Nook. My name is Blazewing. My pronouns are they, them.
I am the reading dragon. My pronouns are she, her.
I'm Lady Punnet. My pronouns are primarily she, her, sometimes they, them. Today is the she, her kind of day.
And I'm Critter Shy. My pronouns are she, her, they, them, and today is a pajama day.
Pajama day, yeah.
Still in my house coat.
In our last episode, we read through chapter 4 of The Thief from the Queen's Thief series by Megan Whalen Turner. We're going to be talking about it, but before we get into that, if you'd like to follow us on social media, you guys know where to do that at lanktr.ee/idiotbooknook. You'll be able to find links to our YouTube, to our podcast. You'll be able to find links to all of our personal projects and all of that jazz, and anything else we decide to throw up on our link tree. With that,
Including support links.
including support links, absolutely. Please keep in mind that it is currently summer, which means we do have noise going on in the background, such as AC units and annoying landscapers outside of windows and stuff, and we do apologize wholeheartedly for that, but there is only so much that we could do, considering we don't get paid enough to do this.
Yeah, there's only so much we can control. Fucking hate it.
With that, how are we feeling about Chapter 4?
Sassy.
You know, we got some good lore tidbits.
Oh, we did.
It was what I thought. It was very much what I feel is it's a well-rounded chapter, especially for something like chapter 4. Like we're moving away from the beginning exposition and into the meat of it, so to speak.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, like we're definitely getting a better sense of everyone's personalities. We're finding out like just enough about the situation while still giving us a lot of building, like world building, that it while it was a very long chapter, it did not feel like it was a long chapter. If that makes sense.
So, what I found interesting, so we've already alluded to the fact that this seems to place in like a alternate universe Greek setting, but it's looking like this is starting to get to the point where in our world the Greeks started to not believe in the multiple gods, because as we all know, the Greeks had a god for everything from like storms to like sewer systems. And now in some areas they're starting to do like a no, if there's more than one god, it's like having two kings, you don't know who to trust. So I tried to look up like when that first started to happen. And from what I could find, apparently, my mouse is being weird. One moment, please. What I
You
was
good?
able to. Yeah, I think so. My mouse is being weird. From what I was able to find, it was around the 9th century CE when like wars and natural disasters started to occur more often, that the Greeks started to not believe in the gods as much. Which partially makes sense.
I mean, that was like, I mean, like we're also the part of the reasons why they also transferred over is because there was other things kind of forcing them to move in different directions. But I do like that it's giving us enough of a frame of reference that we can make inferences like that, of like get an idea of the time frame, what the culture is like, what their belief systems are like. It definitely paints a better picture of what's the world like as a whole, I guess.
I do like the fact that we're not just dragging along on the trail anymore. We are actually starting to see things. We are actually getting that lore and that world building, like you mentioned. We had a pretty big piece of lore dropped on us, actually.
You talking about the Rock?
I'm talking about the Rock.
Rock.
You could say that we're starting to climb towards the climax of the story.
Really?
So
You're that teacher that's going to draw a fucking mountain in class to show people how to write a fucking story, aren't you?
that was actually a very clever metaphor to figure out how to write a
Yes.
good story.
Yeah,
But back to the point about the Rock. So, interesting tidbit, because to our knowledge, so far in the story, we haven't actually seen explicit use of magic. Like, we haven't seen people snuff out flames with their minds. We haven't seen, like, magic hands lifting books off of top of shelves. So, this could be a good example of, like, something that could theoretically be mythical, like the Philosopher's Stone, or it could be something more symbolic, like Excalibur.
So far, it does really seem like a high fantasy, low magic setting, which is interesting, I think. That being said, if they do delve into magic, given how they've set up the framework, I'm curious to see how they move along with that. Whether or not it's like actual magical energy, or if the magic comes from more practical uses of things in nature. Because they seem to be making a really big point about the natural herbs and plants and fungi, at least they have in the last few chapters, which makes me think that the magic is coming from more practical use.
It almost makes me think, like you said, we're in a high fantasy, low magic setting. It makes me wonder if it's magic isn't something you can easily learn. It is something you have to be born with in order to use it. Kind of like no wizards, all sorcerers type.
Yeah.
Thing.
Yeah.
That being said, we're only in chapter 4 of... How many chapters are there in this book? Let me
Quite
see
a
here.
few.
A million.
I'm showing 12 chapters in this book. So, actually, you know what? Guys, we're about a third of the way through.
Yeah.
A third of the way through, we just found the hook of this story about what the thief's going to try and steal.
This is also a multi-series, right?
Yeah, it's a multi-book series.
So there's this is like the first book in like
This
at least
is-
a trilogy. And also, by the way, if I ever get a chance to play against Dragon and poker, totally going to do it because you cannot hide your face.
Correct.
Why do you think whenever we play D&D, I always look at her face whenever I have to make rolls to know how fucked I am or not?
But yeah, we're a third of the way through this book, so they are definitely setting up for the following books. The author went into this book knowing that he was going to be... the author went into this book knowing that she was going to be writing more books.
Yeah.
I kind of like that, though, because...
Trilogy. Oh, you're funny.
Well, so a good example of that is Rick Riordan, the author of the Percy Jackson series, The Kane Chronicles, The Heroes of Olympus.
Rick Riordan?
That guy, I can never remember how to pronounce his last name.
Yep.
Papa Rick.
Yep.
So if you look at like the first book he ever wrote, which was the Percy Jackson series, which was Percy Jackson and the Lightning Thief, he originally wrote that for his kid when they were first diagnosed with dyslexia as a way of saying, hey, this isn't a bad thing, and this is why. Which, by the way, great representation there, Rick. You helped countless people do that. But eventually, through the editing process, he made it so, hey, this could be like, yeah, you could just read this book as it is, but if you continue reading my books, you get Easter eggs throughout.
Mm-hmm.
Which is those are the kind of books I like, because then it's like, no, wait, I am now invested in this character and their stories, and I want to know what happens next. I'm not sure if I will get that with this book, because so far I am more invested in like Paul, because he has said like 2 lines, and I want to know more about the strong stoic soldier man. I have a type, okay? We all know I have a type. I like the strong stoic boys who are secretly like big softies on the inside. It's my type. I acknowledge it.
That
Moving
explains
on.
a lot.
Yeah.
Love it. Love it.
But yeah, so far though, I'm not getting that connection with Jin, who's the name of the thief, and I don't know if they said his name earlier because I've only called him the thief, or if this is like our first time in it.
This is the first time we've actually heard his name, if I'm not mistaken.
No, it's been said before.
Is it? Oh, my bad. Maybe I just have a shitty memory.
Probably.
Gee.
But yeah, so but also going on this path of a high fantasy, low magic setting, from Jin's reaction alone, magic is fairy tale. It's myth. Because the idea of a stone that gives you immortality is like, so it's a fairy tale.
That makes me wonder about something.
What does it make you
So
wonder?
one of my high fantasy, high magic setting series that I like, actually by Piers Anthony, the Xanth series. One of the books dealt with the source of magic, literally what created and what caused all of the magic in the world. And I'm wondering if this fabled stone that we now know that they're going after, that has been passed down through royal line, might actually be some sort of arcane focus object. Might be something you can channel through, or something that imbues people with magical power, and that's why whoever holds the stone is the ruler, because nobody else can overcome that. And I'm wondering if they might have a series like these. They might have a number of these like fabled legendary objects that would imbue people with magic, depending on kind of where you are in the world, or what your kingdom is, that sort of thing.
Oh, so you're saying that maybe it's less sorcerers, more warlocks, because they're getting their power from an item or an entity.
No, because if you look at setting like D&D, sorcerers have an arcane focus.
Oh, that's right.
They have something they channel their magic through. So I'm wondering if this stone might be something that once you have it, you can use that to focus your thoughts and your wishes and produce magical effects.
That's a possibility. Because also looking at... Oh, go ahead, Critter.
Finish your thought, it's fine.
Well, so if we go about it that way... Because here's the thing about the stone. It says that the stone has to be given willingly. Which is an interesting tidbit. Like, so you can't steal the stone. You steal the stone, it's not going to work for you, you're going to die. End of story. But yet, it also said that someone stole the stone and gave it to their son, which was allowed and worked. So, it seems like you can steal the stone, it won't work for you, but if you give it to someone else, it will, which makes it seem like the stone's kind of about selflessness, in a way, and you can't take the stone in greed. But it also makes me wonder if the stone abides by the rule of tap tap no takebacks.
We could go ahead.
I was just laughing.
To bring in another bit of writing, another way to look at it, and to bring it into reference for the lot of us, it could also work on rules not unlike that of the Elder Wand from the Harry Potter series, where the Elder Wand belonged to the person who won it, Wandlore rather, where the wand belonged to the person who won it in a duel or disarmed an opponent. The wand would switch allegiances, right? I'm wondering if there might be some sort of trigger like that for this stone, just not necessarily defeating people in a duel, but whoever rightly claimed that rock according to the rock's own, according to the stone's own parameters.
Yeah, I've definitely considered something along those lines.
Mm-hmm.
And to kind of tie in your Xanth reference, when we were talking about whether this was like a purely like a regular magic free world, and it's just like they're calling science magic essentially, or if there's something magical somewhere in the background. It like in Xanth, it takes place in like real world, but the magical world is hidden. It is separate. There's the mundanes, and then there's where
It's basically layered. You have your mundane or your normal, say, Panhandle of Florida. Xanth is kind of layered on top of that or behind it, and you have to be able to trigger a certain specific event in order to get in, or you have to be able to meet a certain threshold in order to get in.
yeah, so there could be something like this at play. I'm trying to think. At this point, I'm trying to think more, I guess, long term, since I know there's multiple books to this. So maybe I'm thinking too much.
And there is the possibility, with the way that we choose our books, that we may never find out. This may be it, because we just keep adding books to our list, to our wheel when we draw them. So we may never come back around to this series. We don't know yet.
I mean, we could always just, if we see that it's going to be a while before we get to it, nothing's stopping us from reading it on our own time. And I mean, we can always, like first book of the series is, we've never read it before, but if we're doing multiples, there's a chance we'll have read them before, and you'll just have to live with that.
Yep. I am interested to see where this book and even this series goes. Much like I am with the the Bartimaeus trilogy. I really love to do the other books of the Bartimaeus trilogy.
Yeah.
Whether or not we get around to them, though. But yeah, I see Dragon is well amused with the cat.
So, I have a question then.
What's that?
So, similar to like Thor's hammer or the wands in Harry Potter, they have a certain level of sentience.
Yep.
Does the rock have sentience?
We don't have
Because
enough.
the rock has. Well, I'm starting to think it does, because it's like, okay, wait, no, you stole me. You're not getting any of my magic, but you gave it to this person. So it's been willingly given, so that follows my rules. So yes, this person gets my power, you don't.
Well, don't forget, we've
Nothing.
actually been given no proof that the rock is actually magic. That was more just me speculating about things.
Mm-hmm.
That was me trying to come up with explanations and going down rabbit holes and whatnot. We don't have enough information right now to tell whether or not that rock is actually magic or not. Or whether it's literally just a rock that somebody thought was special and put in their pocket.
I mean, if we go with the fairy tale background to it, I suppose we could word it as the stone is a gift from Hephaestia, which, given her domain, it would make sense for, if it was a magical rock for whatever, to have some kind of sentience, or at least something about it that, I guess.
We also
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Words. My brain has failed me.
We could also look at it from the point of, in a lot of stories, it's the lore and legend which brings items to life or gives them significance, like a lot of significance. And the lore and the legend being passed down through generations can actually animate objects, or has been known to animate objects. Give them a bit more bang for their buck. Just like real life, all lore and legends come from, a bit of truth. Some of them seem a lot larger than life because of that.
Adding on to that, places that are deemed haunted, as an example.
Yep.
People will go in and basically exorcists will go in and clean a haunted place all the time, and yet there's still activity going there because there's still energy being given to it by those that don't get the memo that, hey, it's being cleaned by an exorcist. Stop giving it energy.
A prime example of that would be Ghostbusters 2 with the painting of Vigo.
Yeah. I was going to say Supernatural did an episode on that.
Yep. The more energy you give something, the more it actually comes to life, the more power it gains. The actual belief in an object. It's the same thing, the same reason we have a whole bunch of different gods. The belief in the thing gives the thing power. Man, we just went really analytical with that shit.
We did.
Yep.
As we do.
Because, well, this rock could legit be a magical item, like the Philosopher's Stone, or it could be nothing, and it could just be like the Emperor's new clothes. Whereas it's not, it's just people pulling the wool over your eyes and be like, oh, hey, look at this beautiful thing that only fools can't see.
Yeah.
Or it's like one of those items where it gives something akin to a placebo effect. To where if you have the item, it looks like just an ordinary piece of whatever it is, but in the belief is that it's supposed to make you like invincible or slightly immortal or something like that to kind of give you a boost of your life and what have you. So the placebo effect is that you subconsciously start doing shit that would allow you to live a longer life where otherwise you probably would have just kicked the bucket early on. Like subconsciously making you more careful of certain things, or making you more aware of your surroundings, or subconsciously having you take better care of yourself in such a way that makes you live to an older age than you originally would have.
Something else I want to just chat about for a sec. The series is called the Queen's Thief series. The Magus was talking about being the King's Thief. We have something coming.
Oh, that
foreshadowing.
So that brings up my next point that I want to bring up, because the Magus said, and the line was, the Queen does not have a strong enough hold on her throne to defy an item of their gods. No woman can. Are they implying that women have less of a foothold in this world than men? Because if so, Jen, you need to leave and go become the Queen's Thief already, because we do not support that line of thinking in this book nook.
I mean, yeah, it is very obviously that the Magus has some very, very, very high opinions of himself and his station, and some very, very, very strong opinions about what everyone else's stations are supposed to be and how you're supposed to treat them accordingly. Like, he can't even allow himself to be upset with Jen purposefully provoking him, because that would be acknowledging Jen as a person.
Like, Magus is a pompous asshole.
Fucking,
just
those
say
are
it.
That's some massive mental gymnastics right there.
The Magus is a pompous asshole. Just say it.
But it's just, also it makes me wonder, it doesn't sound like these people have actually been to the Queen's country. So it makes me wonder if, A, they're right, the Queen doesn't have a strong hold on her throne, but they also said that it's a matriarchal society.
But notice how
so it makes me wonder. Oh, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Well, because they say, oh, no woman can. Clearly they're patriarchal. Do they not realize that they might have a similar line of thinking to like when the Queen of England was alive, and how even right now no one wants to acknowledge Charles as king?
So they basically removed the king in this story from the series title. We do have something coming down the pipeline. Naturally, because, you know, we're only a third of the way through. We're not quite there yet. I'm thinking the thief might end up defecting.
That's what I'm thinking. Either they get caught and he like spills the beans to save his butt, which, I mean, I totally would throw the Magus under the bus. I'd feel bad about Sophos, but you know.
I would.
Or he somehow like gets away and switches side for whatever reason. I don't know. See, Dragon is smirking, so I can't tell like what of my statement triggered the smirk. And you can't tell us either.
I love the reactions from you a lot.
Well,
so
this is kind of our process. This is how we do things. We just kind of talk things over, and sometimes we're right, sometimes we're not. I think we have a track record of being wrong more than we're right, but it's all about the adventure and the journey that matters. So
Yeah. I'm definitely looking forward to see how it goes to being what it is, especially now that we have a better idea of what's ahead.
yeah.
I'm just excited to see your guys' reactions as we continue through the story.
I have a theory.
What's
I
your
have a
theory?
theory. So I agree that most likely Jen's gonna defect to the queen for valid reasons. I have two working theories. One, the current queen is a lot more powerful than the Magus is giving her credit for. And if the king tries to come up with this proposal, and even if they do have the rock, she's just gonna look at him and say, "And?" Or like completely not impressed, or the thief is gonna steal the rock and give it to the queen, and the king's gonna try and claim he has the rock, and she's gonna hold it up and be like, "Oh, this? Get out of my palace."
Yeah.
So with the way
I want a badass queen. I want a badass Yas queen. That's
Okay.
all I want.
So let's go down this line of thought. The Magus is looking down his nose, I mean, yes, at everybody, but even more so at this queen. He does not respect her. We can tell that from the way he talks about her.
Mm-hmm.
There is a possibility that they could reach their destination, and then she could literally just curb stomp the Magus into dust. Be like, bitch, respect my authority. So,
It could be like that one audio from TikTok that's like, words are power, and then the female voice is like, arrest him, seize him, blah, 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 cut off his throat. Oh, wait, no, I've changed my mind. Take 2 steps back, turn around, close your eyes. And then the line is, power is power. I want that queen. I want her to have so much power over her people because they either fear and respect her, or just respect her, or just fear her. I want that queen, and I want the Magus to realize, oh shit, I do not have enough authority here. And for him to get, like you said, I want him curb stomped.
I'd love to see her not ruling through fear. Ruling through fear leads to a declining and eventually lost kingdom later on down the line. Happens all the time when you rule through fear. Eventually people will rise up. However, if you rule with respect, love, and trust, and understanding, your people will take care of you, and they will regard you as a decent ruler. They will have no reason to rise up. So we don't know. We're speculating at the moment, Arky, so
That and
Well, I was just thinking, if we go with that line of thinking, maybe she is still like a Yas queen, in charge queen, but maybe she's the queen that's like, has to tell her people, no, we cannot cut off their head just because they said something not nice about my hair. No, we cannot hurt people just because they insult me. That proves their point. Stand down. And they listen on the first thing because they don't disrespect their queen, but they're glaring at whoever dare disrespects the queen. Or it couldn't, maybe it's just like a little queen, like barely 16 queen that's really well respected because she earned her place. We don't know how old the queen is. She could be a granny queen, a lady queen, or a little lady queen.
I like to think she's the grandmother from
Game of Thrones.
Nope.
Coco?
Nope. 1 second.
Loading.
Yeah, hold on. I got to do a search for this. Give me 1 second.
So in the
your
meantime,
most likely it's a lady queen though, because the king's asking for her hand in marriage.
yeah, but you like it like even then, like that seems to be just he doesn't like Jen said, like he's not actually interested in Queen or Edis. He just wants the ability to cross the pass.
The Queen from the Princess Diaries.
Yeah, there we
Yes!
go. That old lady was nice.
Queen Ronalde, Queen of Genovia.
Yep.
Long may she reign. She does not
Damn.
slide down mattress slide. She flies. Yes. I now want to make a character based on that.
Bloody
Badass
mood.
grandma queen. I want a badass granny queen.
What else do we have? I think we have time for maybe one more point before we got to start winding down here. So, what else do we want to talk about?
Okay. All right. So we know for a fact the thief's going to defect, right?
No, we don't. That was just...
It's a theory.
There's a likelihood of
think-
it, but we don't have proof. That was me, again, postulating.
Do we think that any of the other retainers or apprentices would defect?
Don't know.
I'm getting so I don't think Pole would. He's a soldier man. He seems loyal unless something like severely shakes his resolve. He's going to keep following the magistrate. Ambitious might. He doesn't have a good relationship with his daddy. He has daddy issues. Most likely he has mommy issues. Most likely parental wounds. He knows a lot about the culture in that area. And like how things go, like outside of a textbook standing, including that of the old gods.
Mm-hmm.
Little apprentice dude, no. He has that naivety about him and not quite black and white thinking, but more along the lines of, well, I grew up with this and everyone around me says this is how things go, so we have to be right. He shows a willingness to learn about the old gods, but he said so. It's like from an academic standpoint, not like a place of truly believing or wishing to understand.
But on the other hand, it did feel like he was choosing his words very carefully with that particular one. I think he's so used to having to, I guess, explain himself to keep himself safe. I suppose, you know, when you're being threatened to like get thrown into a river with your encyclopedias, I think you learn pretty quickly to defer any sort of thing like that, to be like, oh no, I didn't mean like that. I meant like that because I like to live and breathe. But it would be nice to see that, to see Sophos either get some sort of like big, like I wouldn't say like reality check, but something that like, I don't know. I don't want to say grow a pair, but grow a pair.
Magnus is like, no, he's very dedicated to this idea of being the king's thief. Which, by the way, the rock, it's stated that whoever steals the rock like dies. So that's clearly why they want Jin.
I think it's more whoever, if someone keeps the rock after stealing it. I don't know. I guess there could be like a time for like a, yeah, you're right. It could just be from taking it itself that it causes your death, because that wasn't specified either.
If no one passes on the rock after stealing it, like let's say Jin would get away and he dies before he give away the rock, and does that mean it's like, oh, whoever picks it up next gets it? Or is it like, no, you technically stole it off of this person, so now you die, and it just ends the cycle?
Well, lucky for everyone here, the next chapter we go through actually explains all that, because the next chapter is actually going into the lore of the Hamayathe's gift.
Loki the Teal, thank you for
Hey,
the
Loki.
5 tier 1 subs.
thank
Holy
you.
shit. My apologies, my notifications are broken since I changed my channel name, but thank you so much. So, Crittershy, Ferritsune, Tyrion Phoenix, the Madam Glitch, and the Reading Dragon are now subbed at tier 1.
Yay!
Thank you.
Look at Loki just throwing around the money,
Right?
making it rain. Whee!
Just doing this to everyone. Thank you. Thank you.
It's definitely going to be, I think it's definitely going to be a ride, and even though it seems to be a slow burn, I'm hoping the payoff is well worth it with this. Like, really well worth it.
Same.
I'm thinking Loki with another 5 tier 1 subs. Tabletop Fortress,
Holy
Evie
crap.
Nightstar, DeBear1310, Neppy, and Nix's Rose now have tier 1 subscriptions.
Damn.
Thank
Thank
you,
you.
Loki.
And Loki says now your goal is met.
Absolutely.
Hell yeah!
Thank you. I do think, as with a lot of stories, at least I'm hoping, the Magus's hubris is going to be his downfall. I'm honestly wondering if he gets his hand on the stone, and then we see his downfall, and Jen takes the stone to deliver. Just my two cents.
Mm-hmm.
So, Tira, thank you for the tier 1 sub for Xylanth. We have
Jin?
just under 4 minutes for a hype train.
Hey. Jin also, he's gained back his strength and he's already been testing his flexibility.
Yep.
Which is good. And his, wounds are now good enough that he doesn't need them covered anymore, meaning the risk of infection is not as likely, which is actually a very, very good sign that Pol and them have been taking good care of him. So that shows, like, possibly above and beyond the basic care. Because if it was as bad as he was saying it was, then could be bad.
Loki with the tier 1 sub for AP Cosplay Author. You guys are rocking today. Like, holy shit.
Damn.
It's definitely going to be interesting to see where things go, kind of what turns out. I do say I want to see the Magus knock down a peg, and I do think his hubris is going to be his downfall. I would love to see that.
Yeah, same. Absolutely.
So. Anything else that we want to talk about?
I think we've covered everything for this chapter.
I think we've definitely, like, without going into, like, without going over it with a fine-tooth comb, I think we've torn this chapter apart pretty well, at least for the way we do things. No, we are actually talking about Tira Phoenix with 245 bits.
Woohoo! Let's go, Tira.
We're not talking D&D. We're actually reading through the Queen's Thief series, Book 1, The Thief, by Megan Whalen Turner. We just finished Chapter 4, and we're having a kind of a discussion about it. So.
And there's only so much I can say without giving spoilers because I have already read this book and
Yeah.
I have my narration on my narration channel on YouTube, The Reading Dragon. So if you guys wanted to get ahead of us, you are welcome to do so. Just don't give any spoilers, please.
Loki the Teal with 1,000 biddies.
Well, look at that. Woo!
Yeah.
God damn, guys. Just
Thank
goddamn.
you. Thank you.
So much
Woo!
money.
What does our audience think? Does our audience have anything they want to mention for this chapter?
We'll give a moment so you guys can type out your thoughts.
Absolutely.
Into the chat. Because typing can take a bit, especially if like you're on mobile devices. In tiny letters
Yep.
with your thumbs.
It can absolutely take a while. So, we are going to have to wrap up here sometime in the next 15 minutes because I do have to get ready for class, unfortunately, but I wasn't sure about the pacing to start for the first 3 chapters. It did seem to kind of drag, but with this information drop, I'm kind of coming back around. Class in the summer, yeah, so That's how I've been doing schooling for the last few years. Pays the
So
bills.
that way you can get up and go.
Yeah. So,
See, I would look into going back to school if I knew what I wanted to go back into school for and could find a good place to go and qualify for grants, which I don't qualify for much of anything currently, so that's kind of out of the question.
yeah.
Yeah. Found out the hard way.
And how close I am to... So it doesn't sound like we have anything else we want to talk about for this chapter.
I
think we
talk
covered
about
it.
shit without spoilers.
Lady Punnett?
I can't think of anything. I mean, apparently yogurt thing in this world,
Yogurt is a thing.
which is both cool but also ew, because I can't eat yogurt.
Why not?
Texture.
See,
Yogurt
yogurt
is pretty big Mediterranean staple, even like back then. So historically, very accurate.
I also happen to really like yogurt, so...
I like Greek yogurt.
yogurt.
Loki, you're good. If you want to catch up with episodes, they're actually up on the YouTube. We go through one chapter and then we do a discussion in the next... one episode is a chapter reading. The next episode is a discussion reading. We just finished chapter 4, so you can actually catch up with the YouTube and whatnot. That's totally a thing. So. Anyways, I guess without further ado... This has been Chapter 4 of The Thief from the Queen's Thief series by Megan Whalen Turner. This is a discussion episode. If you'd like to follow us on social media, you can do so at lanktr.ee/Idiot Book Nook. You'll be able to find links to our podcast, to our YouTube, to all of our individual socials, and all of that.
And ways to support us.
And yeah, absolutely ways to support us. Other than that, I guess for the Idiot Book Nook, I'm Blazewing.
I am the Reading Dragon.
I'm Lady Punnett.
And I'm Crittershy.
And we'll see you next episode for Chapter